This is Dr. Saldivar with another episode of the Way to College podcast. Wow, when I started this podcast, I never imagined how much it would grow. I never imagined who it would connect me to and where my network would grow. I initially created it with the idea of I'm going to reach out to my network to collect stories, but more importantly, to share their stories and their journeys and give information to students and to folks that needed it. um, and also celebrate. I think a lot of these journeys, every journey that I've shared, I think has been incredibly empowering, and there's a lot to learn from them, and they all need to be celebrated. As part of this work, I am, I'm an educator, but I'm also a consultant. I also work with college students and first year students and advise, and I'll do all kinds of things. And so I've tapped into that network as well. And so today, my guest is someone who I've connected with through that network, through our mutual work and through these connections. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to her. I'm going to allow her to introduce herself. So Maya, please introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers out there.
Hi, I'm Mya Andersen. I am an independent academic life coach. Um, I am the person that takes students from college capable, which is what high school does, to college ready, which is what high school doesn't do, and is misses all of the really critical parts of success in college. And I started the Student Empowered um, because I had worked on campuses for a little over 20 years. And there were things that I was consistently seeing that students struggle with. And it did not matter if you were first gen, it didn't matter if you were in your third year. None of those factors mattered. What mattered is that you were a college student and the systems of higher education have a giant hidden curriculum that you don't know and you don't master till pretty much you're ready to graduate.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that lovely introduction. And thank you for I think I think I think I came to the same realization, right? I was working full time in higher ed for about 20 years when I decided, okay, I'm going to leave because I see this need. Fortunately, a lot of the work that I was doing in the classroom, I was already doing some of that, but I felt like there's just this huge chasm between the students when they're leaving high school and when they're getting to college. And I was a part of too many conversations where folks from high schools would ask, oh, what do we need to do to prepare students? And it felt like I was just yelling out into the ether, like, and nobody was paying attention. And it was like, that's great. We won't worry about that now. Let's just get them to graduate. And so I appreciate the work that you're doing, Maya. I think we are kindred spirits and that we're committed to this work. We want to see our students succeed. But Maya, as with all of my guests, where does your educational journey begin?
So I grew up in Northern California and not like the cute Northern California, but like um at the base of the Sierra Nevadas. So I grew up in a small community where gold was discovered, all those kinds of things. But it wasn't a community where people went to college. And I was not surrounded by adults who went to college or who believed that it was a worthwhile investment. And so I am a first gen student. I genuinely wanted to go to college and I did not know how. I, there was a 6 year gap between high school and actually becoming a full time university student because I genuinely didn't know how. And just about the time that I would think I was at that place of becoming a real full time student, an expense would pop up. Something more fun would arrive. I'll own it. Like I lived my best life. And so by the time I became a full time student, I still didn't understand how to college. And I was lucky enough to work on the orientation staff at the University of Oregon, which at the time had an orientation program that was being modeled at numerous institutions across the US. And after my first year on the orientation staff, it occurred to me that nobody knows what they're doing. Like, I wasn't just because I was this first gen kid who didn't have adults and leadership, no one knew. Like, even if you were the third generation to go to college, you still don't know what you're doing. And so I did 2 years of orientation, and with that, quickly realized, wait a minute, like I I am becoming the person I needed as a student, but also there are a lot of people, a lot of students that don't know this. And I'm working in campus offices, and campus administrators don't even realize what the gap, they don't even realize that there is this giant space between graduating from high school and graduating from college that is filled with like, so what then next? And
Yeah.
how do I do this? And so I had grand plans. My grand plan was to write environmental policy. Um, was going to go to law school, do the whole thing. And I went to the University of Oregon. It's a quarter school. I started spring quarter, and it became glaringly obvious that my heart was truly in staying in higher education. It just became more and more obvious that
Hmm.
as much as I love policy, like I am a giant policy nerd, that what I really loved more was being the person for students that got it and
Yeah.
could translate it into everyday language so that it didn't become so daunting. It became attainable, it became less scary, and so on and so
Yeah.
forth. And so it, and there it began. Like, that's where my career in higher ed began, was honestly, like, I was invited to work on the admission staff, and I did it for a while, and I realized, like, admissions is not where I want to be. I want to be talking to the kids when they're here. They've
Yeah.
made their decision, they're here, and they're looking around with like, I don't really know how I got here, but like, I hope this all comes together. And so then consequently, my career in higher education began. I've worked at 5 campuses, all publics. So I've worked at 4 years and 2 years, at three different states. I feel like there's probably nothing that can surprise me that will happen. I feel like yeah, I think it's pretty hard to surprise me. Um, but consistently, when I was on campus, my favorite day is graduation. Like, is there anything better? There is nothing better than like that full of hope expression mixed in with a swell of pride. But
Yeah.
then also that like lingering in the background, like, ah, so what then? Like, all of that, and watching, like, these are kids that I got to see from the beginning to the like crossing the stage. And
Yeah.
that's like, name a career that gives you more gratification. Like, I'm waiting. Like,
Yeah.
come to me and tell me something that's better. So I've done a lot of things on the student side of the house. By design, I have not done financial aid or res life, because you have to say there's some things you are unwilling to do in the student experience. I don't trust myself with handing out money. I'm a little too much of an empath. And I don't want to be in the same dwellings as college students. Like, I can hang out with you all day, but I'm going home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah. So we relocated to a new state in the throes of COVID to caregive for a family member. And it was the perfect opportunity to say, yeah, I'm going to take this off campus.
Yeah. You thank you for that wonderful sort of journey, right? Taking us through those experiences. But also I think how fortunate you were to recognize early on, like, wow, I really enjoy doing this. I think for me, I didn't realize how much I enjoyed it until I was teaching. And even then, like I took a job at the university sort of reluctantly because it was the first thing that kind of landed in my lap. And I was like, oh, I'll do this for a couple of years and then I'm going to do something else. And then I realized, one, I really enjoyed it, but two, I could see the need. And so, Maya, you've walked us through this. You said you've worked at 5 campuses.
Mhm.
All right. Around the country or all in one region?
Oregon, California, and Texas.
Okay. So 3 different states. So when we're talking about this gap, I mean, you've got plenty of experience. You've worked with thousands of students probably. So you can tell us absolutely, yeah, there is this gap. It is a real gap and it exists.
And to that point,
Yeah.
something that students don't know because we don't tell them is that if you are in a student facing position on campus and you chose to remain in that position, like for me, every time I was approached with like, we would like to move you to an administrative position, my response consistently was, actually, I don't want to be in that place. Like I do this because I really love working with these kids. But what we don't tell students is if you are staying in a student facing position, there are gaps. And sometimes it is so demoralizing because you cannot give each student the support that they critically need and that you want to give them simply because it's a numbers game. The truth of the matter is it's a numbers game.
Yeah.
And if you are case managing 500 students, you're not going to be able to step in and give them the support that they need until it becomes that they have to have the support to continue as a student, whether it be conduct, whether it be academics, whether it be mental health, whether it be money. The list goes on. The most problematic part about the support on campus for students is twofold. It's passive, and interventions do not happen until there is a critical problem.
Yeah.
And how is it that you can, like, how are we guaranteeing students success? And how are we focusing on retention if we're only intervening when it's a problem? Because if we're only intervening when it's a problem, the conversation is about the problem. The conversation is not about the student.
Mm. Wow. Wow. I mean, that's a great point. And I agree. I agree, right? We're often way too late, right? And it's not until yeah, it becomes a problem. Um, so you you decide to take this
Hang
and
out
go
a
private.
shingle.
And what?
Hang out a shingle, right?
Well,
Like,
and yeah,
I'm going to go do this.
why leave? Why leave the institution? I mean, I have my reasons for leaving the institution. So I know you must have some powerful reasons. So why leave the institution?
Uh, really, for me, what I don't want to do is I'm not going to, like, I could name people, places, and things. There's nothing to be gained by that.
Hmm.
Really, what honestly was the tipping point is that I had known there was a gap. I was doing my best to meet students before they fell into it.
Yeah.
But then a pandemic arrived. And I hate to say it, but like higher ed, this is where it showed how unprepared that campuses were for a campus wide crisis because it went from maybe like zone kind of, zone defense, zone offense to literally like, I'm going to try and wrap my arms around the whole stadium and
Yeah.
offer them support via email. Because really, like when it first hit, everyone's response was, okay, well, we'll just talk to them on the phone or via email. I hate to say this, but there is not a single college student that knows how to get everything that they need articulated in an email the first run out of the gate. If you think about if you are in a support office on campus, if you are in a resource office, support, whatever it is, the first time you meet with a student, you're spending like the first 10 minutes with a warm up. Like
Yeah.
students don't walk into offices and first their first words out of their mouth are, "Here's what I need help with."
Mm-hmm.
Instead, it's, "Can you fix this?" Well, we were trying to do that in a format that's not conducive to what was once face to face. We're now asking you to do this via email or phone. That doesn't work. And
Yeah.
honestly, it was every day I mean, it was not unusual to have 5 email exchanges with a student before I realized what they really needed. And honestly, during that time, they just needed reassurance. Like
Yeah.
they just needed somebody to say, like, this is bad. This is a hot mess. It's all on fire, but we're going to see you through it.
Yeah.
And for me, I knew I was moving to a new state. I had applications out at multiple campuses when we ready to do this when we moved. And we moved and we spent about 30 days in our new state. And I realized, like, I'm not going back to campus. I'm not doing this. I'm going to take a giant risk and I'm going to actually sit down and I'm going to write a curriculum based on the things that I consistently see students struggle with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm going to I'm going to write a sample email. And if you work with me, it's the sample email for the first time you email your professor. And you can honestly, you can take that and drop it into an email. And I'm going to, one, I'm going to help you with task initiation, which is really, really hard when you
Yeah.
are a student. Okay. So I'm going to help you with that. Two, I'm going to completely change your mindset on perceiving office hours as a doctor's appointment. Three, I'm going to help you present yourself as a person who wants to be seen as who they are and not as just another student in your class or another student who's struggling or any of these other things. I'm going to teach you how to go to that professor's office and strike up a conversation that has nothing to do with their class so that you can build a relationship with them. That's the kind of stuff that bridges the gap.
Yeah. Wow. So you were looking for to, the meaningful work. You wanted to do the meaningful work, the stuff where you'd have a direct impact.
Yes, like
Yeah.
there's, I'm going to try and not sound like an end of days kind of person right now, but why have we forgotten the meaningful work? I mean, I know
Yeah.
why. I'm very clear. It's really hard to maintain right now. It is
Yeah.
exhausting to maintain the meaningful work. Like, there's not enough of us to go around to
Yeah.
maintain the meaningful work. But the meaningful work is where futures are built.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I
We've
mean,
had, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
like, we can't say kids these days if you're not actually offering solutions and pathways.
Yeah. 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 No, I agree. I absolutely agree. Yeah, we've had multiple conversations. This is not our first conversation. And I don't know that I've ever shared this, but I remember, it was early on in my teaching career, maybe my first or second year teaching, and it was the first time our university was implementing like a student success course. So I'm the guinea pig. I'm the guy that's going to teach it, and I'm meeting with this committee, and so it was part of a big Title V grant. So I'm meeting with this committee, and they're like asking for feedback and what's working, what's not. And I said, um, I didn't get any training. They gave me a book, said go teach this. But where I was finding impact was in meeting with students one on one. I said I was holding these one-on-one meetings, just getting to know the students, and I think I'm getting through. I'm really connecting, and I'm having these great conversations, and then it's making the work in the class much easier. I said there's buy-in, they're showing up, they're doing the readings, so they're really excited. And after that meeting, I'm on this high, and this tenure track, professor in like math comes over to me and he says, Jose, I applaud what you're trying to do, meeting with the students, but don't waste your time doing that. And I'm like, what? Like, That's where the work's happening. That's where I'm making an impact. Like, how did you just not, were you not paying attention? Were you not hearing this? And I was just blown away, but it gave me a sense of what was valued and what wasn't valued. So I appreciate, what you're doing. Yeah.
The number of times that that conversation has taken place, I can't even count. I once had a department chair say to me, "Are you sure that you are not creating problems just so that these students need more help from you?" And
Wow.
it's pretty hard to render me speechless. Like, it's pretty hard for that to happen. And I just remember I just stood there and like I could not dignify it with a response because my response was not going to be dignified. And later on, a few days later, I stopped by their office and said, "Okay, I've really thought about this. And I think really what you don't get is that you are sitting in a position of your expectations of students based on your training as a researcher. And you know what? What it took for you to get to where you are is not to be discounted. Like the 10-year track, it will end you. Real talk. Like becoming a fully tenured professor, like you should really like honestly like you should at least get a free t-shirt out of the deal. Let's be honest, right? And so I get that from your perspective, you believe that students are needy for unnecessary reasons.
Mhm.
I'm going to counter that. They're not needy. They just have never been here before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that. How are you supposed to know if you've never been there?
Yeah.
And honestly, there isn't really. I mean, we could tell every kid. Like Andrea Malcolm-Brenner is an author. She has this book called How to College. It is the best, one of the best books I have read about
Mhm.
how to become a college student. I guarantee that people who are reading that book are not high school graduates the summer before college. That's not who's reading it. You know who's reading it? You and me.
Yeah.
We're the ones reading it, and we're like, yes, this is true. I'm going to implement this into my practice. So, to a point, I get it. Like, we could talk to these kids day in and day out. They're not going to understand it until it's a lived experience. But why are we discounting their lived experience?
Mhm. Yeah. So, Maya, tell me about your work. If one, how do folks connect with you?
So honestly, I I don't have a strong social media presence because having conversations like this, I love. Like this is real and this is authentic.
Yeah.
Talking to a camera and making cute reels, I would rather watch paint dry. I'm gonna be honest. Like I would rather watch paint dry. And so I get it. I do not have a strong social media presence. I like it's like fits and spurts. Um, I'm 100% referral, and it's not because I want to be. Like in a perfect world, somebody would like make me into a machine, and there would be like some marketing machine that would put me out on the streets, right? And like people would be like, "Oh, there's Mya Andersen. She's that person that gets it," right? And I'd be like, TikTok cute and all those things. I'm just gonna put it to you straight. I'm not. That is just not where I'm going to thrive.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it is referral based. I mean, I have had people reach out to me who simply just put in like student success in a search window and just hoped for the best. Um, but it really is this. The funny thing about what I do is that 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when I got this wild idea and decided to do this, I genuinely scoured the interwebs to find another person because I wanted to talk to somebody who was doing it, right?
Yeah.
Like to kind of validate my crazy idea. And what I found was two or three people that were doing it specifically for specific student populations,
Mhm.
right? There wasn't anyone just approaching the population like, give me everybody. And so I kind of was a little concerned, like, oh man, like, should I really be focused? And it didn't dissuade me. And then 2 years ago, met another woman who is doing the same thing. Her experience is very much the same. Like,
Hmm.
came from multiple institutions and got to the point of like, I'm not making a difference, and that matters to me. And literally in the last 60 days, have had two people who found me via LinkedIn and reached out to me and are like, I went and looked at your website and I'm kind of thinking about doing this and I want to do it. And so there is a need, right? Like, it's kind of this wild west right now of those
Yeah.
of us that are doing this independent academic life coaching. Like, it's kind of a wild west. We're all approaching it differently, so on and so forth. But I don't think any of us have really like tied the tail on the donkey with how you get to the people who need it and
Yeah.
how you help. I mean, like, one of my big things that I talk about in my services is college is a big ticket item. Like, if you are not approaching college, the investment in college, the same way that you're buying a car or a large appliance or any of those types of things, you actually don't really understand the cost of college. But if you are not also adding some guarantees to your purchase of a big ticket item, then you really are missing the point. And college is a big ticket item that literally comes with no insurance plans,
Yeah.
right? You could buy the tuition reimbursement insurance plan, but you cannot purchase the, hey, my student needs XYZ. Who answers that question without talking to multiple people on campus and hoping that I get somebody who understands what it is I need and isn't also keeping information back because of FERPA, which is absolutely how we should be doing this. Like, it's a federal law, we're following it. But there isn't that person who bridges the gap, right? And so honestly, I don't really know how to help more people know that you need me, but I can
Yeah.
confidently say, if you're making a big ticket purchase, why aren't you buying the insurance?
Mm, that's a great point.
Like, you want ROI, and that's
Yeah.
reasonable. And right now, the dialogue is higher ed is a waste of money. My counter to that is yes, if you just go to college and you just hope that it falls into place, it is a waste of money because you
Hmm.
didn't invest in it.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you are not at career services in the spring of your second year and establishing a relationship with someone, yeah, you're not getting your money's worth. But who's telling people that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, one, I've got to wonder, were you listening to my class this morning? Because that was the exact conversation. That is the exact conversation I was having with the students. I still teach part-time, right? So I teach a couple classes every semester. But I have this exact conversation at the beginning of the semester with, we'll go through and we'll look at like a pathway, right? Their academic pathway, and I'll look at them all as class of like 30, and I'll say, okay, what do you need to be doing year one? What are you doing year two, three, four, right? And I'll ask them, okay, fill that in for me. What do you think you need to be doing? And the sort of the default is, oh, pass my classes, do well in my classes, pass my classes. Okay, great. I
Yes.
said, well, now look at this. Now we've got 30 of you. And I said, now imagine all of you have the same degree. All of you are graduating, all of you are applying for, similar jobs. Why am I choosing you over this other person? What kinds of experiences did you have? you know Everybody's the same. How are you standing out? How have you grown? How have you challenged yourself? Did you take on leadership roles? And so all of those things, right? Nobody is telling them that, and they're looking at me like deer in headlights, like, yeah, because nobody's ever told them that.
Or even if you are going to need letters of recommendation, like, here's a big one, right? Like, the number of requests for letters of recommendation that I have gotten during students' last year of college, I mean, it's just comical. I mean, it's just comical because half the time I'm like, I don't even know who this kid is, right? And so like I I don't want to fail you on this, but like I don't I need to see your face. But so if you are planning to do grad school, right? And you are in a field and like research is of an interest to you, I don't think, actually, I'm pretty sure most undergraduate students don't realize that as an undergraduate, you do have research opportunities.
Hmm.
And that is what makes you stand out from everyone else. But students don't know that the sage on the stage, as professors are considered, like build a relationship with that person because even one semester side by side with them and the research they're doing is going to help you narrow down what you're doing next. Like
Yeah.
career services does matter, but also talk to your professor about their research. And even if you like, that's how you decide a major. That's how you decide a focus within your major. That's how those things happen.
Yeah.
But if you view your professor as this unapproachable person, you don't know how to do that, right? So we say stand out. And what you're saying is so relevant and so important. And it matters. But we're saying stand out. And then we're like, and go.
Yeah.
Set yourself apart.
Yeah.
Buy a con Dios. Have a good time out there.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we need to make you famous. We need to get
Okay, let's do
you.
this. Oh my gosh, we're gonna
Let's.
put this on TikTok.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, this is yeah, you'll be on TikTok in multiple videos. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah,
Um
let's do this. Yeah.
yeah,
Let's get me on TikTok.
so my I think, right, because I speak your language, we're coming from the same world. I think I know I see the need. I know it. I know it's very present. It's real. How do I convince a parent?
Um, so that's a really good question, right? Because
Mm,
you're paying for college and then you're like, I don't want to pay this add-on. Um, honestly, it's actually convincing. It's a two-part convince.
okay.
Okay. One, um, my first thing I'm going to say is like spend 30 minutes with me. Okay. You want buy-in from the parent matters. Buy-in from the student is actually where the transaction occurs. Because I am working with the student. I'm going to interact with parents. I do want parents to be participating in this process. Um, some of it from the beginning is going to be like hand in hand, and then it's going to be from a distance, right? Um, but I want buy in from your student because I want your student to actually say to you, I want her in my corner.
Mhm.
That's where it happens. And honestly, like, I'm not the coolest kid. I know that. Like, my cool factor, that's like that went away years ago. But what I am really confident that I am is that I can be relatable and I'm going to listen and I'm not going to tell you, do this and it's only right this way.
Yeah.
What I am going to say is, hey, you have some options. Let's weigh them, let's consider them, and let's see how it works out. I think what you and I were talking about before you hit record is a really good example. So I have a student right now who changed her major spring semester of her second year. She changed from international business because she believed she was going to be a jet setter. She really did. She was like, yeah, I'm going to fly places and I'm going to talk about business. So cute. So cute. Um, and then she changed it to design uh, her spring semester of her second year. That's a there's a lot that happens between those two areas of study. And so we've been working together for a year now. Last spring took a lot of convincing for me to get her to buy in that the things I was presenting actually had value. Took some time off over the summer. In the fall, I finally made that breakthrough and things started moving. And I have really, 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 really put in front of her repeatedly, I need you to establish a relationship with career services. You are choosing you are choosing a major that is so broad and it can go in so many different directions. You're not really well defined on what the real world application is of your major.
Hmm.
And so there are people on your campus that that's their job. Go work with them.
Hmm.
And so her response was, well, before career services, there's going to be a job fair. So before I go to career services, how about I go to the job fair? Now, I know if you are a design major, that a job fair is going to be like the worst idea ever. But I'm not going to tell you no.
Yeah.
You know what? Go to the career fair and tell me what you saw. Well, it was a bunch of tech bros. Like she hated it. And she could not get in to meeting with career services fast enough. Like literally went to the career fair and then made the appointment. It was like, oh my gosh, please don't ever make me do that again. And, but would it have benefited me to say, you're doing it wrong? Absolutely not. I want you to have good lived experience. I want you to try this stuff out. And honestly, there's a time and a place for everything. It's usually college. I want you to try some of these things within reason. And absolutely, your safety prevails in all of this decision making. But I want you to go and try these things. And if it flies, it flies. And if it doesn't, okay, then we try it a different way. And there's nothing wrong with doing something wrong the first time to learn how to do it right. There is so, we live in such an instantaneous state every day. Everything is immediate. All of this, it's just this constant pressure of immediacy, immediate decisions, immediate this, immediate, right? Well, let's leave a little wiggle room for making mistakes and talking about it and figuring out what to do after that. And so that's the stuff that that's how I'm going to that's my persuasion. Right? Persuasion is I'm going to say to your kid, I'm okay with you making a mistake. Let's negotiate where to go from there. Um so yeah, I don't know the secret sauce to telling somebody you should hire me, but I can confidently say that if I work with your student, undeniably, your student is going to have somebody in their corner that understands the system that they are part of now. And that makes a difference. If your kid says, hey, I think I'm going to drop a class, I know one, I know, no, don't drop yet. Like, that's the first thing. Two, I know the process. Three, I know all of the pauses before the decision making. As a parent, if your kid says, I think I'm going to drop a class, there's one or two responses you're going to have. Don't do it. Or if you're not going to pass the class, you should probably drop it. There's so many places in between that I know about because I've had the conversation repeatedly. And I know within the campus system, all of the parts that happen right there. Like, why would you not have the person who gets the system your kid is going to be part of to help you navigate it? Also,
Absolutely.
I am going to throw this out really quickly. I am a parent who firmly believes in outsourcing. If I can hire somebody to do the thing with my kid so that I do not have to tell my kid to do it repeatedly. I don't have to constantly check in. I don't like so on and so forth. I will outsource that. Like I will far quicker spend money to have somebody be the point person for my kid if they are the expert than doing the taskmaster death march with my kid. The reason why is because I want to value my relationship with my kid as his parent.
Yeah.
I want to be his parent. Like your your kid's going to college. Wouldn't it be fantastic if you could just talk about their life as a student
Yeah.
and have those conversations versus how are your grades? How are your classes? And so on and so forth. Like, hire that out.
Yeah.
Enjoy your kid's first year. Like, go for parents' weekend knowing that you don't have to check a bunch of boxes on is my kid doing this, this, and this. I've already checked those boxes for you.
Yeah.
And you're in the loop about it because you get a summary of every conversation we that I have with your kid. So you're in the loop. It gives you the opportunity for good conversation with your kid, right? Like, listen to what we talked about. You might find something out that you didn't know. And then you can say, like, hey, I saw you talk to Maya about this. Tell me more.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. I'm sold. I'm
Let's
sold.
do this. Send
Yeah.
me all of them.
Maya, one, thank you. Thank you for talking about your own journey, but I think more importantly, sort of providing that context, right? Because people offer their services, people help out, people do all kinds of things. Um, but for you, this is something that is very personal. This is something you're very passionate about, but it's also something that you know so well. You've had countless conversations. You've dealt with a number of these issues countless times, right? So you've got the experience and you understand that there is this definite identifiable need that exists out there. So one, thank you for taking us through that, talking about your services. Before we go, because I know you're busy and you've got meetings, packed back to back, what final piece of advice do you want to leave for our listeners and our guests out there?
um, don't be afraid to share your college experience with your kid. In my initial conversation, when I start working with a family, I'm going to spend an hour and a half with a list of questions for the student and a list of questions for the family. And everyone sits in on the call by design. And the number of times that I have asked the family members that are going to be supporting the student through their college experience, have you shared your college experience? The number of times that they say, no, actually, like I haven't really told them a lot about it because I don't want to influence it, is a solid 85%, if not higher.
Wow.
Your kids need to hear. They need to hear that you too were scared. You too like struggled with things. Like they don't need to hear it's the best 4 years of your life. Your roommate's going to be your friend forever. Like, no, they need to hear the parts that were hard just as much as
Yeah.
they need to hear the best 4 years of your life. Like, well, then why is it the best 4 years? Tell them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Our kids need to see that we are just as human as they are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Maya, thank you.
Thank you. I loved this. I mean, clearly, this is a conversation I'm happy to have. Um, and if people want to reach me, you can shoot me an email. It's Maya, MYA, at thestudent.empowered.com. I'm guessing you'll probably put all this on your show notes. So read the show notes, and you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram, but please do not look for cute things. I'm coming at you with real facts, no fun videos. I'm sorry. I really tried. I really tried. It's not working. It's not working.
Well, we're gonna get you on TikTok. We'll
Let's
get you
do
on
this.
TikTok, and then and yeah, send me any of the links. Send me any of your links so that
I
then I
will.
can absolutely put them in the show notes. We can get them out to the world.
Perfect.
But again, Maya, thank you so much. Thank you for
Thank
joining
you.
us. Yeah, this concludes another episode of the Way to College podcast. Thank you to my guests. Thank you to all of our listeners and viewers out there. Please remember to subscribe, rate, follow, all of that good stuff. And please share the podcast with one other person. I'd appreciate it. And we'll see you again soon. Thank you, and bye bye.